Are you looking for more out of your life? Do you need ideas on how to start new businesses and how to move forward in your own personal life? Well, guess what? You have come to the right radio show. At You Can Overcome Anything podcast show, you will learn and hear from many people from all walks of life who are sharing their challenges, their stories, the habits, and the mind shifts they had to overcome to become who they are today. On top, you will get a chance to connect and see how you can overcome anything by networking and learning about your next move through this radio show. I present to you our great speakers at You Can Overcome Anything podcast show with your host, CesarRespino. Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. It is your host, CesarRespino, and today I have a special guest. Her name is Haleh. Hey, Haleh, how are you today?
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, definitely. Just I want to give a little bit of your background, and then maybe you can tell me more about yourself. You are a best international author. You do also holistic healing or something to that nature, and you definitely like to help people with many different challenges in their background. More so, tell me more though. I know you do a lot more things. Tell me more about the things that you do now.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm a holistic health coach. I help people transition to a healthy lifestyle, holistic lifestyle. And it has been my passion because ever since I was 7, I had this vision that, you can live to be 200 and be at optimal health. And that passion has carried me out through my life. So that's basically what I do. I assist people, like if they need to transition, even if it's a toothpaste. Okay, what's the best alternate remedy for that?
Got it. And you, when you talk about that having that vision and being able to figure out a way for us to be able to live 100 200 years or be able to do that, it's also again relatable to your health, and you yourself have gone through quite a different things and challenges in your life. And so we'll definitely get more into that. Why don't you tell me a little bit about where you're originally from and what's your background, your upbringing?
Thank you. I'm originally from Iran, Tehran. I came here, my God, it was 3rd grade. And I traveled to the Carmel and different places. And we even had a place in London. But we settled in California. So that's where I'm at right now.
Wow. And so at 3 years old, you migrated to the States. How was that for you? I mean, again, just going back to that, because I do believe there's always a very interesting backstory when even people that are born here and just kind of growing up in this society and kind of learning and going through that experience is huge, let alone when you come from a different country and you come here. What are some of the things that you remember, maybe some challenges? Because the reason why I like to ask that is because, again, the way our mind works and how we are wired, right? The things that happen between ages 0 to 7 can really dictate a lot of what we are going through in our adult years, right? And so having that said, I think it's critical to understand where did we come from, what are some of the challenges, and then how is that showing up in our lives now? So tell me more about that the fact that 3rd grade you come to the States. How was that whole life change for you?
I would love to talk about this because this has been a huge part of my life. A little background is okay, I'll make it as brief as possible because
No, you're good.
You touched a very sensitive and a huge topic of mine. It was like 3rd grade. Yes, it was 3rd grade, and everything shifted because we were going to come to America like as a vacation. And my dad used to work with the Shah. And so what has happened is we came here, but then the revolution happened. So we ended up staying here. And unfortunately, we lost everything when the revolution happened, and we made it our home to be in America. And coming here, I was not familiar with the language. So I had to go to ESL, learn the language. And there was a lot of actually Persian communities already out here. So that helped a lot. And eventually I grew and into the language. I took the classes, the culture, and I loved it. It felt like home.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know there's gotta be more than just that, because again, when we look at that whole background and being able to do that is not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. Obviously, at third grade or around that age, you're still young, right? And so it may not be as impactful as it is for some others, right? Nevertheless, you got accustomed to the culture. You learn the language. You obviously, instead of being a vacation, ended up staying here. And so being that, and being the fact that you're in more so in a community that kind of felt home for you, right? Any challenges or anything that you started seeing growing up, being here, or you said, what, when I grow up, I want to be this, or I want to do that. How did those things played out for you?
Well, yes, it was very challenging because I started actually at a young age. I started not loving who I am and who I was. And it was like you see so much out there, and we came straight to Beverly Hills. So being in that Beverly Hills culture, everything was like, oh, you got to look this way, you got to be this, you had to be a perfect Barbie doll. So I grew up and being a perfectionist and not loving who I was. I had to constantly like fit in. I felt like I needed to fit in. I went to Beverly Hills High School, and it was a lot challenging and a lot of like not being who you are. And I felt like it's not authentic. Everyone's just trying to be someone that they're not, and they were not connected within their own soul. So it was always feeling like I have to compete and not at peace at that age, at that young age that I was. And also because growing up and then going through high school, there was I felt a separation. My family was going through a divorce at the end of high school, I believe. My God, it's so a while back, and I'm trying to think. So it was a bit challenging fitting in and trying to be like others. And so I never really liked who I was at that age when I was young.
You've touched on some very, very critical points there, and I want to kind of go back to it, because again, what happens in our past will show up in our future, and I believe some of those things even led to some of the things that you did, being very fit, going to the gym, making sure that you always had that image. And it probably was part of that was probably the fact that, again, growing up, you wanted, you had this idea of who you wanted to be, except society wanting you to be something different, that perhaps at that point, for you, it's like, well, this is not me. Except if I want to fit in, I need to look the part, have that image, and try to be part of the crowd, and or at the same time make sure that I can level up to that crowd, right? Exactly. And I think that happens in so many different instances as people are growing up. And even so right now with social media, I've seen people that they look something, or they look at people in Facebook, Instagram, all this social media, and they're like, man, I want to be like that person, and or I have to live up to that part. And so it becomes the idea of self-care and self-love, and the idea of, what's more important and what's more critical to be able to say, okay, did I try to be someone that I'm not because I'm trying to please my Facebook post or whatever that might be, and or did I start looking at it from a different perspective and have love for myself, and as long as I'm content and happy with who I am deep down, regardless of the outer world and the external world, did I follow that? And so based on that point there, you've done many different things in your life to say, what, I'm enough, I'm good, I am that person. And so I know that that's a very valuable point for people that are listening to us, that again, you don't have to do that. So how do you overcome, or how do you deal with such thing when you have the society or people or friends or schools or work or social media pushing down on you that, hey, you should be this when you really are not? You're your unique person.
Yeah. Well, I had to learn the hard way because I was extremely hard on myself, as I was extremely, since I had that vision since young age. So I carry that throughout my life. So I stayed at optimal health. I did yoga every day. I hiked every weekend. I was very athletic, very fit. But because then I crashed in bed for 3 months knowing that. So mentally, by not being happy, being hard on myself, eventually, because your cells have memory. So eventually I crashed in bed. And the only way that I was able to settle is when I went within. So when I went within and really got to know me and shut all the outside noises, like you have to be this, you have to do this. So I really journaled, was with myself. Basically, the answer is all inside of you. That's what I'm my major thing. That's how I overcame it, because I believe that when I tune inside, that's where the beauty is. That's where the light is. And there's nothing outside. And once you're happy inside, the strength comes, and then you're able to just move forward with life. And I use the holistic approach that I knew as well. So that helped me a lot.
Right. Now, how long did it take you to get to that point, to realize that, you know what, I'm enough? I mean, I definitely, have the answers within me. Did that take you a pretty good while to learn that?
Yes, it did. I'm 53 right now, and that crash happened in 2011. So it took almost all my life, a hard major crash, for me to realize that I don't have to look good. I don't have to be this perfect image. And I was totally okay to be out without any makeup, or I would have never left my home or my room without being all dressed up and have a makeup or look good. And that's a very important aspect you touch, because on social media and a lot of my friends and out there, I see people even telling me, oh, do a Botox if you get migraine. Even with migraine, do a Botox, it'll help the migraine. So everyone wants to like Botox, put fillers, and they don't even look that like themselves. But if that's what they enjoy, I'm all for it. But it's just, are they really truly happy with their image, who they are? Because once you're happy, you project that outside.
Right. And that shows up in many different aspects and in many different elements. And again, the idea of, sometimes you might be hiding behind this image. You might be hiding behind what, you want people to see, pictures, social media, all these different things now with social media, right? Yet at the end of the day, just because you see one picture in one way, people do not know what they're going through behind closed doors and or in their heads. And I do believe that sometimes the biggest challenge, the biggest things, and the biggest war that we have is not in the Middle East or in any other country. The biggest war that we have is the war that's taking place inside our heads. And so when we realize that and we decide to do something different, then we're definitely going to have a better outcome. And again, kind of going back to what you just mentioned, is that it took you a little bit of a while for you to realize it, yet, glad he did. And also, I think the message for those that are listening to this is that you don't have to wait a whole lifetime. This is the reason why we have this interviews and this podcast and guests such as you, so that people can start making those shifts immediately and start pivoting to create a better outcome. One of the things that you mentioned, and is based on what you just talked about, and I want to maybe go a little bit deeper on that, is you said the thoughts, worries, doubts, and fears puts you in a head and lowers your frequency. So those thoughts, worries, and doubts that are put in your head lowers your frequency. When you are enjoying yourself, the life your heart desires gets created, and in that state there's freedom and peace. And so tell me more about that. I mean, we kind of talked about that right now, except let's go deeper on that. I do believe that that's huge when you're talking about that. There's so many different worries and thoughts and fears that we put in our heads, and a lot of times it's really just that. It's not taking place, right? Part of that too is sometimes we have a bad relationship with money, and the fear of money and the fear of asking for the money, and I know throughout your years you've been challenged with that because you had it, and then it's like, I don't have it anymore, and how did I ask for it, or don't ask for it, because again we have this fear, right? And so having to deal with that, and then being able to say, you know what, no, I'm going to create the life that my heart desires so that I can have the freedom and peace that I want. How do you step from that to that?
Thank you. So I used to hate money because of the background that we had it all, living in royalty, and we lost everything. So I believe that everything is just have a good heart, and money isn't important. So money became this evil thing for me. So I started not liking it, or anyone that would come towards me with selling stuff, I would just totally push them aside. I didn't have a good relationship with it. So that showed up in my life, and always being on financial survival. Yes, I have a good heart, but it's like you need to also be okay with money. Now I love money, basically, because and
yeah. Well, like they said, money cures most of the things, right? And so you can either have money and you're still gonna have worries, except those worries and those challenges are gonna be different. Or you can have no money and you're gonna have worries and challenges, except again, those are gonna be different, and those are probably gonna be more critical than the fact of being and having the money, right?
Right. Yeah. So the most important thing is loving yourself. And from that state, you can create anything you want, because you're basically the master creator of your life, and everyone is the universe. And so what I practice to do, and I practice daily, to put the thoughts from my head into my heart, and think from the heart center, not from the mind. And that's how, because I always say the past is gone, it does not exist. Because every word that we're speaking, right, is like past. So the only state is when you're and the future, I always say, is an illusion too. So just stick to now, be in your heart, living life at your highest joy, excitement, and inspiration. And everything from that point will be created. And that's how it started creating with me, when I started to focus on not about what anyone says, what anyone wants to do, but what is it that that brings me joy. So that's where everything creates. Now, once you focus on that, then everything it synchronizes. It flows to you without even you knowing. It's just universal. It works that way. So that's what I started doing. It wasn't easy first.
Yeah, so I think maybe what I'm hearing, to just let me know if I'm right on this, is again, at the end of the day, obviously money is good, and it all really comes down to, and it stems from, how you're creating that money, or how you're coming about, getting that money. Except you got to be able to work within and find yourself first, so that everything else falls into place. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly. Yes.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I totally agree with, again, we are so we're always trying to do, or following the trend and following what's going on social media, and we're trying to be somebody else that we're not. And I think you're right. We've seen it so many different cases. People that are super famous, right? And they've unfortunately didn't got into drugs, or got into, even worst case scenario, taking their lives, because they had it all. They had the money as aspect, and that's the reason why they ended up getting into drugs and or taking their lives. They had that, except they were missing a huge component, and thus finding themselves within, and understanding there's that self-care and self-love, and kind of going back to what is the image that people or society wants from us. Yet again, that's not the answer. Is what image and do you want for yourself, and then everybody else, is it going to accept you or not? And if they're not your crowd, they're not your group, go find a different group, right?
Exactly. Because I also believe when you're authentic with yourself, then you will create that around you. People who are authentic, you will create exactly what you want, because it's all, you are like everything. Basically, everything is, you're the root of everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, that's awesome.
and then one more thing about money, and because when my dad was never home, because he was always providing. So that was another aspect when I had this not good relationship with money, because thinking like, oh, they're never around, and you don't get the love that you need to get from the father. But that changed down the line, but that's how it started.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So let me ask you this. Right now, obviously, you're helping people. You're trying to help them discover, create, something that might be missing in their lives, right, through your holistic practices. How can people get a hold of you and find out more about you if they want to get in touch with you?
Thank you. Yes, I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook and on Instagram. It's at Haleh, which is HALEH_ my last name, which is HOU, S for sugar, HIM for mountain, Haleh Houshim.
All right, awesome. Yeah, definitely. And so what are some of the next things or things that you have coming up in the near future for you? Are you working on?
I'm excited to create this private jet I'm sitting.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in. Wanted to create my own book. Actually, I do want to write my own book. I started with a chapter, and I am grateful.
I know the right person for that, by the way, just saying.
Would that be you?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you to, as I said, this was like a big dream of mine to write, and I have so much more to say. And thank you for holding my hand throughout. I had many, many obstacles and challenges, and I stepped out a lot of times, but your acknowledgement, your guidance, I was able to create my chapter, and I'm still like, did that really happen? #1 bestseller. I mean, you are beyond words, because you're authentic and you really care, and it's just not the title. You can overcome anything. I basically overcame anything, and without you, I wouldn't have done this. I'm 53.
Yeah.
I've been wanting this, so
I'm glad, and it's never too late. And that's a huge lesson too. Again, for everyone listening, that again, it is never too late. And then if you want to do something, go out and do it. And you don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to have all of the elements. You just have to have the desire. And as long as you have some of them and you have some guidance, you can definitely go out and get it. Right. So
yeah, I thought it's like so hard to do, being coming from Iran, the language, the grammar, and hearing all my life, oh, you need to fix your grammar. So it just, instead of acknowledgement, it pushed me more back. But I always journal, I always write. I love writing, and I love books. So thank you, Cesar. And I'm looking forward to creating my own book soon.
Good. No, that's awesome. I have two last questions for you. Number one is, do you have any habits that you do on a day-to-day basis that help you kind of have this positive state of mind? Anything that you do that you want to share with us?
Sure. My morning, basically the cell phone or internet, anything in that regards does not go in the bedroom with me at all. And I sleep in a dark room.
Okay.
So you completely, it's just connecting with yourself. And I practice and I try to 2 hours before bed, and to just do things that you enjoy, and that is not in computer or electronics, and just be with yourself. If it's reading or if it's stretching, and just having time for yourself. But in the morning, as soon as I wake up, I don't grab the phone at all. I focus on myself. I do self-care, if it's taking care of my skin or doing stuff that I enjoy. I mean, it could be different for everyone. I make sure the first thing I do as I get up, after I brush my teeth, is go grab 2 cups of water. I have 2 cups of warm water. Sometimes I put lemon in it and sometimes I don't. And then I have affirmations that I say, the stuff that I want to create, my intentions. I set all my intention every morning, and I also have it every night. I look at it, and I even put it under my pillow.
Okay. Wow, that's awesome. No, I love that. So definitely, and I believe that um, there's definitely something different, and there's definitely a purpose of having some sort of routine. You see a lot of people that are very successful, they have routines, right? And oftentimes the common people don't do that. They don't have anything really, they have no routines. And so, whatever works for you, I would definitely highly recommend the people that are listening to and watching this is that you create some sort of routine. You go out and do something, whatever that might be, whether it's just being at a quiet place for a couple of minutes every day, journaling, affirmations, going out for a walk, whatever that might be. Just be
Mhm.
very intentional, number one. Number two, make sure that you're disciplined on whatever you decide to do, because
Oh, yeah.
again, that's going to start creating different habits, and kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, is going to start creating different mind patterns, and it's
Mhm.
going to start helping you see things differently from that perspective. So definitely highly recommend creating some sort of routine for yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And being consistent and persistent
Yeah.
and keep moving forward, no matter what happens, even if you are too tired or exhausted or in pain. But once you don't focus on that pain, that was another thing I was going to say.
Mhm.
Once you don't focus on it and just believe that it's going to go away, it will, because our mind is very powerful. And just, even if it's a cut and let's say it hurts,
Yeah.
and just take care of it and just let it go and don't put your focus on it, and
Mhm.
just focus on something you enjoy, and you will see eventually it's like, oh my God, it's healing when you don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, yeah, and again, what you focus on will expand. So you definitely want to have positive thoughts, or things that are going to help you move forward versus staying behind. The last thing I have for you, the last question I have for you is for the people that are listening to us and are watching us, if they're going through any challenge, whatever challenge that might be, what is one thing they can do to start overcoming that challenge?
Yes, that is an awesome question. To just, as I said, to focus and go within and let go of any thoughts. Because anything that comes up, it's thoughts always. It's either the past or the future. So just be present in it and just focus on, even if it's music or something that just shifts the energy, it really does work. It's hard to believe, but it has worked for me. And like I had, let's say, the most challenging time, I just didn't focus on that channel. I let it go because our thoughts keeps creating more the challenges and more issues. And once you let that go and just go in your heart, even if it's like focus on nature, if you can't get out there, put on a screen, it's something that you can, they have walk through natures now, just like focus your mind completely out of that and do something you enjoy, and it'll solve itself.
Yeah, yeah, and just kind of mention into that, when we think about the thoughts that come into our head, we have about 60,000 thoughts per day, and out of those 60,000 thoughts, 80% of them are negative,
Mm-hmm.
and 95% of them are repetitive from the previous days, right?
Yes.
And so again, going back to that, we got to be very, in tune and conscious of the thoughts that are coming to our heads. And then going back to being present now, we kind of talked about this again. The things that happened in the past, they already happened.
Yeah.
It's there's really not much you can do about it. And I always tell people that an educational experience, something that you can
Yes.
look at and say, okay, what took place? Can I do it differently now moving forward? Instead
Yes.
of really holding that and or staying in that space, just think about, can you do something different about it? If you could, then great, you're gonna do it moving forward. Otherwise, let it go, let it be.
Yep.
It's not coming back. And then when it
Yep.
comes to the future, well, it hasn't happened, right? and,
Right.
and so sometimes we get hung up on that, right? And so
Right.
again, the idea is open up that gift, which is the present, and stay present to what's taking place today, this moment. So anyways, Haleh, again, it was such a great time having you here. Is there anything else you want to say before I let you go?
It's an honor. Just tell everyone to be joyous, stay in your heart, stay joyful, and do what is your passion, and stay with that. And a lot of people fear to be in their passion. I did, and I crashed at that time. So
Yeah.
it's very important to do what you enjoy, because it will catch up to you if you don't.
I love it. I love it. Well, Haleh, thank you again for being here. Really appreciate your presence today. And for the rest of you guys, do me a favor. Go ahead and check out Haleh, connect with her, follow her on social media, talk to her about her best-selling book, and do me a favor, share this message because somebody definitely needs to hear this message. And I'll see you guys at the next episode of You Can Overcome Anything podcast show. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cesar. It's an honor.
Hi, I'm CesarRespino, real estate investor, business coach, and consultant, and author of the book, You Can Overcome Anything, Even When the World Says No. My number is 424-501-6046. In my book, I talk about making the necessary changes to shift your mind for prosperity and certainty. Pick up your copy at Amazon. I also love helping families with their real estate and can purchase your house fast and all cash. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. My number is 424-501-6046.
Thank you for having me today. I am so glad you've tuned into this podcast. You can find me at your favorite podcast platform where you can like, subscribe, comment, and share. And to learn more about myself, my services, you can find me at www.CesarRespino.com, or you can also find me at your social media. Thanks for joining me, and I am looking forward to having you at the next episode. And know you truly can overcome anything.